Hi! I thought I would share with you a hobby I like a lot, and it's called spinning on a drop spindle. This drop spindle is maybe what you would call an advanced drop spindle, but a beginner can start on any drop spindle will do. The cheap ones work very, very fine. Okay, so for starters, this is how I start because I never quite got the hang of doing it the way some people on YouTube do, which I wish I could do, but it gets tangled up for me. So how I start is I just start dividing roving up. And I'm just going to give a very small demonstration of how this works. So I divided these up, and I'm going to divide them still further. And I can't tell you really where to stop. And then what I do is I just hang them from my sofa. And I'm not going to do a lot of these, but this is just to give you an idea of what I do. And here I'm going to turn this around so you can see. Maybe you can see it. There it is. Okay, so I just hang them like ponytails off my sofa. Okay, this one can benefit from being split again. And see how nicely it splits. Okay, to start, what you need to do is take one of these and just twist it around a bit. It doesn't have to be twisted to any evenness or anything. What you just want is something strong enough and about 6 inches long. Then you tie it onto your spindle. Okay? With about 5 inches hanging out, just tie a knot. Okay, so that's just a knot, nothing fancy, just what you do every day with a knot. So you've got like 5 inches here, and the important thing is you probably need about 3 inches at least to hang out, to be suspended between here and here. Oh, I just blew it. I gotta do this over again. That was actually a good example, because I did not make it strong enough. And it had a weak point in it, so I need to do this over again. And you put it through the loop. Okay, that should work. And I spin clockwise. I'm just doing one ply. Some people do a ply and then they spin it. They spin another set of roving around counterclockwise, but we're not going to get into that. Okay, so what you do, and sometimes when I park, I just stop it with my whatever, some part of my body, because sometimes this will go into the spinning and it'll drive you crazy. And then I just slowly spin it, get it started, and see it's just going around and around. And when it stops, just give it a little bit more. And it's actually a little bit, I'm stopping it like that. It's important to stop it before it gets carried away. And as you're doing it, you're pulling a piece of this back and back and back. And it takes a while to get the feel of that. Just practice and you'll get there. Okay? And I pinch it a little bit as I'm going. And you don't want it to get too twisted beyond the point where you have your pincers, your finger pincers. Okay? That's going pretty well. And after a while, you can get faster and faster and faster at it. And see how I'm taking a little piece of that beyond my pincers and I keep drafting it. And that's pretty good. I got about 2/3 of a yard there, 2 feet. Okay, and then when you get that far, you can then undo it from your knot and just wrap it up on the bottom. And here, you don't want it to get unkinked. I think that you also don't want to over kink your yarn. You don't want to overspin it. I think spinning it is good, but I think there's a disadvantage at some point, and maybe you'll get a feel for that too as you go along. And then connecting a new piece is actually, to me, it's very simple. So that's why I have these 3-foot long pieces sitting on my sofa that I can attach, splice together as I go along. And I would say don't worry too much about it being completely even if you're a beginner, or even when you're not a beginner, because that's part of the charm of spinning to begin with. Who wants things to look like they're machine made? So that is the idea. There we go. I've got another piece, and that one didn't take as long. And I just go like this, and I wrap it around. Wrap it around. And then stick it through that little notch. Make sure there's 3 or 4 inches up beyond that. And let's try another piece. This piece I could benefit from being trimmed. Ta-da! And I don't know if there's any benefit to doing what I do like this, going like that, but I find sometimes it helps to get the really fat pieces to behave themselves. And see how it's spinning? Ooh, you can't see that, but it's still spinning. And I finished that stretch, and I'm going to put that underneath too. And you'll get a feel when you've got too much down on the bottom, but you can keep going for quite a while. See, I would have pre-prepared this and stuck this as a strand on my sofa so I wouldn't be going grabbing pieces as I go along. Oh, see, this is the sort of thing that drives you crazy. And maybe if I had a fan or something blowing in the right direction, that would help. Sometimes it's fun to just do this out in the breeze, in a gentle breeze, because it'll keep your yarn from going in. And if anybody has any tips on how I can do this better, that would be great. But I just honestly never got the hang of the other way. But this, I find, is quite fast. And besides, you don't want it to be real fast, because why else would you be doing it except for enjoying it? What I found, the benefit of this is that my posture and my balance improves greatly while I'm doing this. And it's just fun. So I have about probably 3 or 4 feet in there. Ooh, the bottom part was a little fuzzy, but I've got about 3 or 4 feet in there, or a couple yards in there by now, and with just 3 strands. And it goes much smoother than I've demonstrated, believe me. But I hope you get the idea that this is a fun thing to do.